I would love for you have a very unique leadership style, and I would love for you to give some tips at LTC leaders on how to be a good leader in this industry. So first, let's start with your personal leadership style, and then let's go into maybe some tips that you can give other leaders out there.
Yeah. So, if I had to, I think the best way to describe my leadership style is to describe what has shaped me as a leader. And that really is a driver of how I endeavor to lead today, even. And this goes all the way back to when I first became an administrator. And I made the change from a director of rehab, a physical therapist. And I'll never forget, the group vice president came into the building and said, "Boy, do I have a deal for you. The administrator has resigned, and I'd like you to consider, going to school, getting your administrator's license, and taking the administrator role in this building." And I'm like, "Wow, that sounds like an awesome career move for me." So I said yes, again, for reasons bigger than me, for reasons I didn't really understand, because at the time, I did not realize that this change from a physical therapist to the administrator would result in a $25,000 cut in pay. And, back then, 29 years ago, that was even more significant than it is now, right?
Yeah.
But I remember that first day I walked in, I know exactly what I was wearing. And I walked into the building. It was the same building that I was the director of rehab in Abbotsford, Wisconsin. I walked down the halls and I looked from room to room. And I thought, oh my goodness, these precious people are in my care, my care. And what an honor, what a privilege. But with honor and privilege comes great responsibility. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't, before I lay my head on the pillow at night, that I'm not thinking about that privilege and honor and responsibility. And I wake up in the morning and I'm thanking God for the privilege, honor, and responsibility, and asking for direction in how to best lead these team members who are laying hands directly on these residents, patients, and veterans. That's one thing, and I'll circle back to that in just a second. The other thing is that same experience, and I'm very type A, very high energy. I run 7 miles every single morning, and I hit the ground running, and I want to get things done. I check off my list, and I'm really competitive. And the way I started my career as an administrator was no different. And I'd come in the side door at 7:15 in the morning. I'd hit the floor, hit the hallway, go to every single resident room, say good morning, come into the dining room, and I'd pass the breakfast trays and have interaction with every resident. And I'll never forget, one day after breakfast, about 10 in the morning, a team member, Olga Harande, from the laundry, came into my office. And she asked me if I had a few minutes and if she could shut the door. She shut the door and she burst into tears. And I said, "Olga, my goodness, what's wrong?" And she says, I'm just wondering, what do you have against me?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, Olga?" She says, I feel like you don't like me as an employee." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Every day you come in that side door, you run through the hall, say hello to every single resident, and then you're passing trays in the dining room, and not once do you stop and say good morning." As she's in the laundry room folding. And that hit me in the face, and I have never forgotten that. You see, I came in with blinders on, thinking by going to my residents and by helping in the dining room that I was helping my team members and being a great example. But I failed to acknowledge the very personal nature and responsibility that I also had to my team members. And they were looking to me for connection. They were looking to me for validation. They were looking to me for feedback. They were looking to me for kindness. And so while I have, the resident, patient, veteran is always at the center of every single decision we make, it's been a paradigm shift for me, you see, because I prioritize the team members at a very personal level. And I make it a priority to make sure that my team members know that I care about them professionally as workers or team members or employees. But more than that, I care about them deeply personally. And when I am able to live that or demonstrate that or do my best to do so, boy, does that ever generate loyalty. And boy, does that ever generate a commitment to those residents, patients, and veterans in my care. And as I've advanced in my career to higher level positions, it becomes harder and harder to make sure that the care that's being delivered at the bedside is consistent with the way that I could at a small nursing facility in Abbotsford, Wisconsin. But that one principle of being very personal, accessible to the team members, and never losing sight of the practical reality of what it's like to work in one of our communities, those are real, that those things are really important to me as a leader in order to be effective and in order to ensure that any strategic initiative that I may have or that the company has or that ownership has is actually comes to fruition. Because we can sit around a boardroom table all day long, every day. We can sit around the conference room table in a facility at stand up, but until we engage those and hear the voice of those closest to the bedside of our team members, of our residents and patients, we can't hope to ever accomplish any objective. And so every voice on my team matters. I care about my team members personally and professionally. Yes, we have compassion, but we also take action to do something about the needs that we identify. Those three things are really drivers of my leadership style and approach.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Was a beautiful story, and it explains so well how you lead your team today, and I appreciate that.